I mean, that also speaks to the power of creating that shared goal. Yeah, I mean, you said it yourself. People were in their own fiefdoms, they were operating in silos, and they were competing, sometimes in the worst of ways, with each other for those scarce resources. And you managed to pull them together for that overarching goal. So I think that's, a crucial point for people. And, as leaders, it's easy to say, create a collective goal, but by God, that must have been tough.
Yeah, you have to empower folks to execute. And that takes a lot of trust on our part too, right? That we don't micromanage. We set the goal, we let them know that it's their job to get there. We're there to help in any way we can. But at the end of the day, their decisions are the ones that are going to drive us towards success. And that unleashed an incredible amount of energy on campus.
Yeah, I will pick up on something small that you said, but it was really big from what I remember, which was setting targets and holding people accountable for them. I mean, that feels like a very obvious thing to do in a commercial setting, but it seems far less obvious in higher ed. And that, I think, was an approach that actually was kind of risky on your part, wasn't it?
Well, I didn't see it that way, but I'm sure others did because you've read the book and you've heard what others said about that. But from my point of view, you shine light on issues and you talk about them honestly, and then you help people get there. So even though we held them accountable, and we did that through meeting every month with the deans and the vice presidents, where we weren't meeting our targets or our objectives, we would dig into why and what we could do to help, and then we would provide the people or the resources, whatever they needed, to help address that shortcoming. So again, it's making them part of the team as opposed to beating on them for not hitting their targets or making them a point of ridicule. It's what can we do to get you there? What else? If this isn't working, what else could we do? Right? How can we help you?
Yeah, and I remember we were together in the that summer retreat, and it was such a watershed event. You had your senior leadership team there, and people were coming in quite antsy. Right? They didn't know what to expect. They didn't really know what we were going to do together. I'm not sure I had a ton of credibility coming in from the East Coast and parachuting in. It's like, who is this person? And then by the end of those, few days together, I think the culture shifted quite perceptibly, right? We could see that people were having conversations that they probably should have been having on a continuous basis, but had been holding off on for years. So, what do you think allowed people to break down those barriers at that moment in time?
Well, I'm not just saying this because we're on the podcast, but I think that you did bring a lot of credibility and you helped people see the light. And I think we had a lot of common wins by that time. So the fact that you were able to point those out and dig into why those occurred and start to build that trust, like you said, that listen, the reason we were able to do this is because we were working together. We were working across lines. And at that time there was still an awful lot of resistance when we had that retreat, right? I mean, we've been talking about collaboration. We had introduced you before. We had a lot of things going on, but at that retreat, I think it all kind of came together. It was very emotional at the end, if you remember, at least for me. But we started to articulate all that we'd accomplished and all where we wanted to go. It was really powerful. And despite the fact that we had two crises that followed that, the reality is that we were well prepared to address those because our team was operating in a very healthy way by then.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,